What message is New York City sending to the rest of the world? It's okay to choke and kill unruly black people?
What happens when a decorated Marine, a Michael Jackson impersonator, and a deadly chokehold clash on a New York City subway train?
The video shows 3 strap hangers subduing the 30-year-old man after witness Juan Alberto Vasquez says he got on the northbound F train and began acting aggressively, threatening riders.
And now people are protesting.
What do we want?
Justice!
What do we want?
Now!
And the debate is shaking up the country as people compare what happened to Jordan Neely on that subway train to what happened to George Floyd and Trayvon Martin, as another unarmed black man who hadn't actually assaulted anyone at the time was unalived.
To figure out why people think this is all regular or this is okay. I'm trying to understand how y'all can talk about a black man being murdered again in front of your face and be like, I mean, it's crazy on the train in New York.
But is this the case of a black man facing homelessness in a mental health crisis, being unalived when he should have been given help? Or is this the story of a good Samaritan who stopped a dangerous madman and saved lives? Well, the shocking truth and untold details of this tragic incident will leave you questioning everything. Stay tuned to uncover the full story and go through the tragic video, because trigger warning, this story is heartbreaking, and yeah, buckle up. But first, I am Joe Stone, and this is the Church of Joe Stone podcast, where we find the most shocking and provocative stories and take them to church with news you can use. Now, let's dive into the story. Jordan Neely was a 30-year-old man with a history of mental illness who died during a confrontation that resulted in a chokehold from a 24-year-old Marine, Daniel Penny, on an F train in Manhattan. Now, this was deemed death by homicide by strangulation by medical examiners, and possible criminal charges are being considered. But the story and the viral moment starts before Daniel Penny ever chokes out Jordan Neely. See, Neely was a popular and familiar Michael Jackson impersonator known for performing in Times Square and on subways. He eventually became homeless, and while he brought joy to many, he lost his mother at a young age when she was murdered and was later diagnosed with schizophrenia and autism. Over the years, he ended up being arrested 40 plus times as his mental health deteriorated over those years, mostly for trying to ride the subway without paying, but also for assaulting a couple of people and punching them in the face. And again, all this being a result of this mental health crisis that Jordan Neely desperately needed help for. But now that you know a little bit about him, what exactly happened and who was in the wrong? Well, Neely boarded the Uptown F train at 2nd Ave station in Bowery, appearing agitated and pacing back and forth. Witnesses report that Neely was acting erratic and seemed as if he was about to turn violent. Now, a freelance journalist happened to be on the train and heard Neely exclaim, "I don't have food, I don't have a drink, I'm fed up, I don't mind if I go to jail and get life in prison, I'm ready to die." Despite this behavior though, Vasquez believed that Neely didn't seem like he actually wanted to hurt anyone. But apparently people thought differently, as 5 passengers called 911 before and during the altercation with the Marine, reporting Neely's threats and harassment of other passengers. And now one passenger said that Neely had a knife or a gun, and another said that he was attacking people, but we come to find out that neither one of those things were true. He did not attack anyone, and he did not have a firearm or a knife on him. Now apparently after Neely gave this speech, a Marine engaged Neely from behind and put him in a chokehold. And that video of course went viral, showing him choke the life out of Neely slowly in the 2.5-3 minute long video, which apparently was only 3 minutes or almost 3 minutes of a 15-minute long chokehold. You can also see a couple of other passengers helping to hold Neely down because they were trying to restrain him until the police came. Now they said that he continued to kick his legs for about 2 minutes before becoming completely unresponsive. Once medics got on the scene, they ended up transporting Neely to Lenox Hill Hospital, where he was pronounced dead. And again, his death was ruled as a homicide, and that kicks off the protest because again, you have a man who hadn't actually hurt anyone on a train, who was homeless, who had mental health issues, who could have used help, but instead had his life taken away by someone who felt threatened. Now, I am not saying that the Marine was wrong or that Jordan Neely was correct. The Marine was decorated with medals for good conduct, being a humanitarian and National Defense Service in the global war on terrorism. He sounds like an awesome guy on paper, and I don't think he was fueled by any type of racist thoughts in his mind, but I think when people are protesting, they're referring to the system that allowed someone like Jordan Neely to fall through the cracks and not ever get the help that he needed, resulting in him eventually, because he was too poor, very probably starving, that maybe if he'd been a different color, or if our system cared about him as a human being, he would have gotten that help and this situation would have never happened. Now, as of right now, but with all that said, Mr. Penny, the guy, the Marine that strangled Jordan Neely, has lawyered up. So we will see what happens, and people want him to be at least charged and have the defend his actions in court. And I do not think that is a bad idea, because that's what happens in these cases. You have to prove that you had to use deadly force and that your life was on the line, or that you were going to lose your life, or someone else is going to lose their life if you were going to end up using deadly force. There is a reason why we do not let civilians or even ex-military without a badge loose on the general public. And there's a reason why you can't act like Batman on the subway, because there is liability. If he had just held Jordan Neely down, this may have been completely fine. But the fact that during this citizen's arrest, when Jordan Neely hadn't actually hurt anyone at that point, the fact that during that you took his life, well, now you have to face the consequences, or at least stand in front of a jury and explain to a judge exactly how we ended up in this predicament and why you felt the way you felt. Because according to the law, you have to reasonably be able to explain or have concluded that there was somebody's life about to be put on the line, or your life was about to put it on the line if you use this type of physical force. And at that point, did Jordan Neely deserve to die? And if it happened on accident, well, that sounds like manslaughter to me, and you should probably not quit your day job. But again, all I want is for the law to work the way it's supposed to. And yeah, sometimes there's consequences for trying to be a hero. And I'm not saying he was wrong or that I wouldn't do the same thing in his position, but just like how all those Law and Order Republicans like to stick to the book, well, let's stick to the book on this one and make them fight for it in court. But let me know what you think in the comments. Do you think that this was perpetuated by racism? Are our systems broken? Or is this just a hero that is being persecuted for trying to do the right thing? Or do you think Jordan Neely at that point was so violent that he literally needed to be restrained, and what happens from that is on him? Let me know what you think in the comments. I am Joe Stone. This is the Church of Joe Stone podcast, where cool comes to pray, you come to stay in. Hit the subscribe button so you don't miss another video coming your way. We find the most shocking and provocative news and take it to church. I will see you in the next one.